Last year's strategy to protect students from COVID is out the window this school year. And my thoughts on the parents who say that if schools don't drop mask mandates, they'll pull their kids out. Denver's growing violence problem. Could letting bars stay open later actually help the situation?
I can guarantee the viewers of Next that we will not have the same problem at 4 o'clock in the morning that we have at 2 o'clock in the morning.
Cash isn't king at Red Rocks. It's not allowed, even with a new law requiring businesses to take cash. And the nonprofit preparing to welcome Afghan refugees to Colorado says it is in awe of what you've done. We're not surprised, because we know you. You are next. Sudden school shutdowns, whether it's one kid, one class, one building, that sends ripples throughout our community. You got the missed learning for students, missed work for parents. It can scramble society. We saw that last year. So as the new school year begins, we're watching schools do away with cohorts, the small groups that tried to isolate COVID cases to keep that chaos from happening. Our Marshall Zellinger looks at what's changed.
It was a new concept for schools that my colleague Chris Vanderveen had to explain it like a teacher.
C-O-H-O-R-T.
The gist of cohorts is that if Johnny were sick and Timmy were sick with a 50-student cohort, only those 50 would have to quarantine or take some action, and not the other students in the school.
It's really hard to make sense of why they would be doing less, rather than more. With the Delta variant spreading.
Eileen Burke is a parent of a 3rd and 6th grader in Adams 12. A spokesman for the district said elementary school students are still cohorting, meaning students have the same teacher throughout the day. In middle and high school, there is more intermingling.
So if you say, are there cohorts in school? Yes, there are. If there's a classroom of students and their teacher or teachers, in their sessions, that's a cohort.
Dr. Bernadette Albanese is an epidemiologist with Tri-County Health. She said studies in other states from last school year showed student-to-student transmission not as aggressive as adults, which leads to how schools may respond this school year.
If there's a case that occurs in a routine classroom this school year, based on the information from last year, we are willing to say, all right, if there was, a single case in the classroom, you don't have to quarantine everybody in the classroom.
For Mom Eileen, it's lunch that is most concerning when kids who are not or cannot be vaccinated are together without masks.
Today, I actually went to my kids' 2 different schools at 2 different lunch times, and I checked each boy out, and we basically ate lunch outside. It seems pretty clear to me the CDC is recommending that unvaccinated, populations not eat indoors without masks, if it can be avoided.
Tri-County has some good data. In Adams County, half of the 12 to 17-year-olds have at least one vaccine dose. In Arapahoe County, 59%. In Douglas County rounds up to 60%. When you look at it 12 years old to adult, it's the same order. Adams, 72%, then Arapahoe, and Douglas, surprisingly to some, with 3 out of 4 having at least one dose. Kyle.
Marshall, they're working off of data from last year. Pandemic is not exactly the same as it was last year. We've got a lot of vaccinated adults, but we've also got Delta, which is just chewing through unvaccinated populations.
And you hear it from the mom. Why are we going to a more looser approach? And the answer I've gotten from both Tri-County and some multiple school districts is you've got masks, vaccines, HEPA filters, cleanliness. They're trying a lot, and it's kind of like wait and see. And if something happens during the school year, they know what worked last year, and they can always go backwards, I guess.
We know more than we did last year, that's for sure. Marshall, thank you. Douglas County schools are under enormous political pressure from the county's Republican commissioners as well as parents to reject the county health department's mask mandate for kids. Parents rallied outside the district office this morning with signs, some promoting misinformation about masks and calling masks child abuse. Ducko Schools is following Tri-County Health's recommendation to require masks for kids ages 2 to 11 while in school. No school district wants to lose students and families, but families making the choice to educate their students elsewhere, that happens all the time for a variety of reasons. A hard choice, but one that can be really healthy for the family and the school district. There's that small and vocal group of parents in Douglas County schools who say that they will pull their kids out of the district if Douglas Schools keeps following the health department's mask mandate. They say that masks are a matter of personal choice. The district is sticking with the health department's guidance. So now it is the parents' choice. Pandemic's relatively new, But generations of parents have faced hard choices about whether their values align with the values of their local schools. In this case, those families choosing to get their education elsewhere, that could be healthy on a variety of levels. So we're about to get a test of whether vaccine mandates work. City of Denver says it has seen vaccinations go up almost 10% since the city announced that all city employees have to get their shots by the end of September. You can expect more employers to move to mandates after today's announcement from the FDA that the Pfizer vaccine is fully approved. Now, this is full approval for people 16 and older. Shots for kids 12 to 15 will continue under the emergency use authorization. We asked the state whether it expects some kind of rush on Pfizer vaccines now that they're fully approved. Demand has been really slow lately, and the state says it thinks it has enough supply to handle any increase in demand. Another violent weekend in Lodo as Denver struggles with the increase in crime seen in large cities across America. Early Sunday morning, one person was killed, another 5 people were hurt in shooting as bars closed in Lodo. Our Steve Stager has been covering crime in that part of town literally since his first day here. When he asked around about solutions today, he heard a familiar suggestion.
We have a bunch of people kind of pushed together, intoxicated, and stuff's going to happen.
It's a problem that Denver just can't seem to solve.
In defense of our police department, they simply cannot police the amount of people that get let out at the exact same time.
Crime in the city's most popular entertainment district, usually right around 2 a.m.
It saddens me that it's still a problem, that we couldn't figure out a way to lower that amount of violence.
Denise Maurer is a criminal justice professor at MSU Denver who led a study we covered back in 2014.
Our students are looking for real things.
A group of students from Metro State Denver has been researching the issue for several months.
It was just too crowded.
Her students found a whole host of issues like food trucks clogging the street at closing time and difficulties getting a taxi. Bar owners now say the same thing they did back then. The problem is that they have to close their doors too early, sending thousands of people onto the street all at once.
Well, the phrase I've used over and over again is it's a mass exodus. You're just talking about thousands and thousands of patrons being let out into the street all at the exact same time.
Andrew Feinstein owns Trax Nightclub and Exto Event Center further up the road in Rhino. He's been pushing the state to loosen the rules on closing time for years. We asked why the same problems wouldn't happen if bars were allowed to close later.
Our internal research at Trax has told us that people have a 4-hour window in which they go out and have fun for the evening. So if you move it back to 4 o'clock, some people's 4-hour window will end at 4 o'clock, and some people's 4-hour window will end at 2 o'clock. We'll have a staggered exit over the course of the night, and this is going to be hugely beneficial for public safety.
Denver's police chief sees the potential benefit.
We've seen examples where entertainment districts where that approach has been effective.
Chief Pazin said the department won't take a position on any potential legislation to change closing times, though. He says DPD is going to add more officers to that area, continue to work on getting illegal guns off the streets. Professor Maurer says that some studies on extending closing times found an increase in time. And she says what appears to work is a situation where you get a bar to close the door at a certain time. So the people who are inside can finish what they're drinking.
Yeah.
And the people outside can't get in. Give them time to kind of chill out and then release them.
Like a staggered exit.
But the problem is with that, if you're a bar, you're still paying your people to be there and your method of profit is gone. So it's trying to convince bar owners to do something like that.
Yeah, that makes sense. I also have a 4-hour window. Mine starts at 5 p.m. and it does not end with an Everclear slushie. Did I see a sign for an Everclear slushie?
It was on there, right? Yeah.
But that's a fast train to waste a town. So ultimately, this would be a state law situation. So, like, the governor's opinion matters.
Back in September, the governor said in the midst of the pandemic, when bars were struggling, that he would consider allowing bars to stay open later after the pandemic. Today, he doubled down on it, said extending service hours could help spread out customers who are leaving, which in turn could help prevent crime and reduce drunk driving.
This sounds like it could be something that actually happens. All right, you and me going to get Everclear slushies at 6 p.m. Thanks, Steve. Americans have the right to remain silent, but it appears the Mesa County clerk under investigation does not have the ability. Republican clerk Tina Peters gave her first interview since investigations into how her voting system data ended up in the hands of fellow election-rigging conspiracy theorists. It was a frankly somewhat incoherent exchange with MyPillow guy Mike Lindell, who says that he has helped Peters go into hiding as they explore, without evidence, their theory that Denver-based Dominion Voting Systems is rigging our elections.
Covering their tracks, biggest crime in history, but so they're covering their tracks, but then they're also putting things on there for the future, for future crime. That's my opinion. I probably did that pretty good there. So is it your understanding that the prior elections data were deleted from your Dominion server?
I don't know. That's the forensic experts would have to give you the details of that.
Right.
But that's my understanding.
Right,
yeah.
right. And we're checking into that, everybody.
Peters has been stripped of her duties overseeing Mesa County's elections, but she is still an elected official, still getting paid to do the job while in hiding. We asked the Colorado Republican Party if they still had faith in Peters running elections. It was 11 days ago when we asked, and we've yet to hear back. Colorado's Democratic Congressman Jason Crow is one of the loudest voices in Congress right now for evacuating the Afghan allies who fought alongside him and others in America's longest war. Today, Crow said he has not seen evidence of why the Biden administration and the U.S. military were caught so off guard by the quick Taliban takeover.
I am not seeing right now the indicators of an intelligence failure. An intelligence failure means something very specific. And I'm not seeing that. I'm seeing some warning signs. I'm seeing streams of information that could have led us to believe that this is the position we would be in. So I think we have to be very careful about the language we use and the conclusions we're coming to.
Crow, along with other Democratic and Republican veterans in Congress, are calling on President Biden to continue evacuations of Americans and our allies from Afghanistan until no one is left behind. The administration currently has a deadline to pull out by the end of August. The head of a nonprofit preparing to welcome Afghan refugees to Colorado told us that he is in awe of what Next Viewers have done. Your Word of Thanks micro-giving campaign last week raised $183,000 to help the African Community Center's work as they find homes and jobs and provide cultural orientation for those refugees. Ron Bazard from the African Community Center wrote to me to say, so many people have donated, sent words of encouragement, and are signing up to volunteer their time to help in our efforts and welcome resettle Afghan families coming to Denver. He wrote, we thank you with all of our hearts. Concerts are back at Red Rocks, but not cash. Right after Colorado passed a law requiring businesses accept paper money. And hear the next generation of musical talent right here.
Winning Song of the Year is such, like, I don't even know how to put into words how much it means to me.
Next isn't stopping. I'm not confident the train would either. It's a sign when we return. Tonight's next question comes from a viewer named Art. He was at Red Rocks recently and noticed their no cash concessions policy. Wondered if that's legal and how someone without a debit or credit card is supposed to get food or drink. That is a good question, Art. So Red Rocks is one of a few venues that went cashless as a pandemic precaution. And Red Rocks is staying cash-free because it is legal now. So the state has a new law that requires businesses to accept cash. But Red Rocks, other businesses, can opt out if they offer a way on premises for somebody to convert their cash to a prepaid card without a fee. And Red Rocks has one of those free reverse ATMs at their visitor center.
The only Monday blues we're seeing are across Colorado skies and a couple of clouds too. So nice to see the mountains, the foothills today. And wow, did we have to deal with the heat. Back to the mid-90s we go for the metro and triple-digit heat in far southeastern Colorado. Pretty dry afternoon for us with most of the severe weather going across the Dakotas and through Nebraska. Looking ahead toward tomorrow, high levels of ozone once again across the metro area. High pressure around. That means a big warm up on our hands as the storm track stays well to our north. We're back to the mid-90s again tomorrow with mostly sunny skies. Triple-digit heat across the southeastern corner of the state with 70s and 80s up in the mountains. Thunderstorms on the way Thursday.
It's a sign that the train has reached the end of the tracks. Our viewer Rick noticed this in Leadville. Yes, I suppose the train would stop at that point, provided that the conductor had not had an Everclear slushy or two. This, they tell us, is the end of the line for the scenic train for the Leadville, Colorado and Southern Railroad. Good thing it's not a freight train. Those trains go about 10 miles per hour, and I suppose they know where to stop already.
When I write songs, the lyrics are really what stick out to me and what stay with me and what I find the most important in my process.
The right people heard those lyrics. Now this 19-year-old has a big national honor. And the most Colorado thing we saw today is a stare down. Next. Art is an outlet, a chance to spread joy. That's why Finn O'Sullivan makes music, not for the accolades. Although the 19-year-old CU Denver student got a big one recently.
It's definitely my favorite thing. Most of my free time is spent either just like playing music or listening to music or writing music.
You talked in circles, I ran in stars.
My name is Finn O'Sullivan. I'm 19 and I'm a singer-songwriter.
Cardboard people in cutout cars.
I've been writing songs for about 6 or 7 years now and really kind of just like found my joy and my passion there.
Counting cards and tempting fate.
I always hope that my music is something that other people can connect with and relate to.
All we do is drive through the night and listen to songs that we'll never remember when the power comes back on.
My favorite song to this day is When the Power Comes Back On, and I wrote it during a time where I was feeling like really stuck in a particular situation, and the power in the song really refers to like my own personal power.
Oh, look at me.
So I submitted When the Power Comes Back On to the John Lennon Songwriting Contest. So I found out in July that I was the winner.
That we'll never remember when the power comes back on.
Winning Song of the Year is such, like I don't even know how to put into words how much it means to me.
Comes back on.
And to have it recognized like that really means a lot to me. So it's just been such a crazy, incredible experience so far.
Oh, beautiful lyrics and voice of Finn O'Sullivan through the lens of our photojournalist Corky Scholl. Finn won some decent prize money with that award, along with a bunch of new instruments and some recording equipment. We're back with a Colorado-style stare down and your feedback about parent mass protests next. The most Colorado thing we saw today is an Old West-style stare-down. Viewer LaDonna's dog and a bunch of cows, enough of them not to be concerned at all about the dog looking at them near Roxborough Park. That's a great shot. Email photos or videos of quintessentially Colorado things that you see to next@9news.com. Beth wrote in on my commentary suggesting that Douglas County parents threatening to pull their kids out of school over the mask mandate should just do that. Beth says, as a resident of Dougco and a teacher there for many years, I continue to marvel at the, her words, self-centered parents who cry out against masks. Don't believe the science, she says? Go ahead and teach it. Literacy and math, too. We'll see you next time.